What's up, guys? Happy Tuesday. I won't say too much till some get in here, but a lot of news to cover. Not a lot of Braves news specifically, just some talking about some spring training performances and stuff. There's been a lot of injury news, not for us, thankfully, other than the Ronald Acuna Jr. Of it all, which he is fine. The meniscus irritation is just that. He actually did batting practice today. It felt like nothing happened, or that's what he said, and he said he could play today, but the team is just going to gradually build him up and build him back. But he should be ready for opening day, which is the most important thing. So really good there. We haven't seen Luis Guillorme in a while. He's been dealing with some quad soreness, which has given David Fletcher a bigger look, a longer look, and he has been, hey Charles, and he has been doing really good things in spring. I think he had a exactly 500 average and had a hit today. So he is making a push for that utility infielder spot for the roster for sure. But Forrest Wall continues to open eyes everything that he's done defensively, offensively, with the speed. And I know that would put too many lefties on the bench, on the bench, and maybe on the roster. But it just feels like Forrest Wall is forcing his way on the roster with his complete game, the hustle that he's shown. I don't know. There's no way that you can keep him off the roster at this point. Yeah, Tyler Matzik looked really good. His velocity is still 91 to 94, which, again, that is not where he has been, but gradually building up, and that strikeout was absolutely disgusting today. So that is a good sign for sure. Big time. So yeah, Tyler Matzik looking really good. Unfortunately, Dylan Lee hasn't looked great. So maybe they'll. Aaron Bummer has. He had a really unlucky inning the other day, but he has looked really good. So that helps with the extra left-handed bullpen depth because Dylan Lee looks on the outside right now. I know you don't base a lot of roster spots on completely on spring training, but Dylan Lee just looks not there. Not there right now. Just 90, 89, 90 right down the middle. That's not going to play in mini circles. So Ray Kerr has given up a few runs in spring training, but has had the strikeout ball working in his 3 innings. I think he's had 7 punch-outs, or 4 innings now, I believe. He's had 7 punch-outs. So that's really something to look for. In terms of the left-handed bullpen depth, something that I didn't expect us to. I mean, I know we didn't have a lot last year, but we have kind of an embarrassment of riches at the moment, which is a definite luxury for sure. So really good there. I'm really liking the Charlie did have a good outing. Really nice and really cool to see him already build up to 3 innings. Obviously, he's probably doing some stuff on the backfield, and he's been through many a spring training with it being his 17th. So really good stuff there for sure. So really good there for Charlie. Obviously, some rust with the walks, but Charlie's like the master of work working in and out of trouble. So, what's up, Chris? Well, I do this every Tuesday, so I try to. So it's become a good thing, a weekly thing, and thanks. I'm glad to hear from me. Spencer Strider and that curveball. Geez, 3 of his 4 strikeouts were on the curveball today. Probably didn't have the fastball command that he wanted, but it's nice to. You don't want all your spring outings to be perfect because that's not the reality of of Major League Baseball at all. Yeah, the depth is definitely something that I guess I under anticipated. I think because we've already sent Daysbel Hernandez down to the minors, which Daysbel Hernandez 98 with that nasty slider already in the minor leagues tells you how good our depth is. And Forrest, okay, Forrest, that's cool, Hudson. Forrest Wall is definitely, I think at this point he's forcing his way on this team. And he kind of reminds me of, and this may be too, I don't know if it's too big of a compliment right now, but Brian Snicker loves to say he's just a ball player, but my comp is he's the outfielder version of Martin Prado right now. And obviously hasn't had a lot of experience, just getting called up last year and spending a lot of time in the Colorado Rockies system. And I know you can't overreact, or you shouldn't overreact to spring and the things, but he's just doing everything well. Hustle, hitting, and all that stuff. So I think, yeah, at this point, Forrest Wall is forcing his way on the team. And I know, like I said earlier, that may put, yeah, I would too. Like I said earlier, that may put too many lefties because you've got Michael Harris the second, Jared Kelnick, and then Forrest Wall. So that maybe put too many lefties, but you've got the speed element. You've got everything. So, and sometimes guys just force their way on the roster, and you've got to make it work. And I realize, and we will probably realize this, like with last year, we thought Vaughn Grisham had an amazing spring, but we ended up going with, and he did have an amazing spring, but we ended up going with the veteran Orlando Arcia. So you could maybe see Jordan Luplow or Eli White, and they haven't had terrible springs, but they haven't had terrible springs at all. But the right-handedness might play big time in that. Yes, Forrest made a great catch today. Charles, I always see your stuff. I gotta try to get whatever is in my brain out, so I don't lose train of thought. Um, so yes, and I would really love Forrest Wall to make it. He just seems like such a down to earth kid, does everything and has all the tools. But I guess you should only overreact to spring when it's positive. I saw somebody say that, and that's a really good rule of thumb. I think is to only overreact when something is positive, and Forrest Wall and David Fletcher. David Fletcher is definitely that too. And my favorite stat, and I've said it a million times. I probably could put it on repeat, but he had a 91% contact rate, and um, that's something that you do not see nowadays. That's like a Stephen Kwan type of thing um, with Cleveland, and he's just done everything well. He's played all the positions, especially short. He's played short the last couple of days, or 2 out of the last 3 games, I believe he's played at short. So I think David Fletcher is definitely making his case. I know the contract is a part of it as well. So who knows? That might be a factor in the contract. 2 years, 14, I think. So maybe the Braves don't want to do that, but I'm not sure. But he's definitely got more of a look because Luis Guillorme has had groin soreness, but he's taking ground balls. So we'll see there. And yes, unfortunately, I did see the news about Vaughn Grisham. He will miss the start of the regular season for the Boston Red Sox with a quad strain. And the hits keep on coming for the Red Sox. Lucas Giolito was diagnosed with a partially torn UCL and likely will be out for Tommy John surgery. But if I'm being completely honest, the Red Sox haven't made sense in about 5 years in the roster construction that they put together, and the contract for Lucas Giolito didn't really make sense from a production standpoint. Not to say that he couldn't turn it around, and he's been a solid pitcher in the past. It's just it never made sense. 2 years, 38, and not really having anything outside of Brian Bayo and Nick Pivetta, and then trading Chris Sale. Not necessarily, and then saying that they were going to go full throttle, but then haven't signed a big name free agent since, and trading Chris Sale, and that's looking awful considering how good Chris Sale has looked this spring so far. So yeah, a rough day, a rough spring, and a rough few years for the Boston Red Sox, if we're being honest. Yeah, I mean you can't control injuries, obviously. They control the controllables type of thing that I always like to say, but it looks gross, and he's gonna miss the start of the regular season with a quad strain, I believe, or a groin strain. Yeah. So and I mean, sending mixed messages to a fan base like the Boston Red Sox is you're asking for uh you're asking for issues there. A UCL is the elbow ligament in a ligament in your elbow. No. Chris, I think it's gonna be they're gonna go hand in hand. I mean, I don't think we got worse in any of our positions. Offensively, and honestly, the way that Michael Harris II has started in spring, he could have a massive um, um, he could have a massive day, and I know people are concerned about Jared Kelnick, but if you watch spring games or listen to my recaps, which I hope you have, Jared Kelnick's hit the ball hard, just not gotten a lot of luck. Yes, yeah. I think I think our depth is something pitching wise, because you're not gonna have to go to a Dylan Dodd or Jared Schuster. Not to say those guys didn't earn their spots, but you feel better with a Bryce Elder as your sixth man, a Ronaldo Lopez. He's looked really solid so far. He's not throwing 98, 99 because he's trying to preserve things a little more. And people saying that Ronaldo can't be a starter, I don't get that, because the depth, again, we're talking about the depth in our pitching staff, and it's the depth in our pitching staff is really amazing. I mean, you're talking about Dylan Lee, who's really struggled from the left side, was a prominent piece in 2021, 2022, but you've got Aaron Bummer, you've got AJ Minter, you've got Ray Kerr from the left side, and you've got Ken Giles, who's coming out of nowhere and really opening some eyes. It's not 100-mile-an-hour Ken Giles, but it's the spin doctor Ken Giles. And yes, I mean, shoulder injuries scare me more than Tommy John at this point, and Dylan Lee's dealt with that a lot, and his velocity being down to 89, 90 isn't really going to cut it, because it's just because he's used to being 93, 94, and it doesn't look great, or it hasn't looked great for him. And you got Tyler Matzik coming back, and he's looked relatively solid for what he's doing, and he's still sitting 93, 94. We'll see. I mean, I don't have it in my brain if Dylan Lee has any options left. Probably could go check that, but I mean, we let go of Kyle Wright, that's had shoulder issues. Michael Soroka, the same thing. I mean, shoulders are so unpredictable, and that's why you appreciate the left-handed depth we have in our pen, and even some of the minor league guys as well. You could see like a Hayden Harris has shown a good strikeout ball in the minors as well. So there's an embarrassment of riches in terms of all that. And Ken Giles coming up and being something is insanely awesome. Well, we had 104 last year. So yeah, that's probably a good over under. And I mean, Spencer Strider developing that curveball, and you got Charlie Morton. Thank you, Charles. Charlie Morton, the king of the curveball, and all of that stuff is really fun to think about, because guys are sponges and are learning, and you got Oscar Inoa working his way back. That may be a tough ask, honestly. But if Matzik is half of what we saw in the NLCS, then we've got something there still too. So, but yeah, continually just talking about like the pitching depth that Chris keeps bringing up. You don't have Charlie. That's a very, very, very long shot, but I've only seen him in one spring game so far, and he gave up one hit, but it was a clean inning. I think this bullpen is impossible to crack, almost. But yeah, never say never. I mean, again, find somebody that loves. Oh, I didn't get to that, did I? I think it's nuts. The Zach Wheeler contract, did he deserve it? Yeah. But I think it's nuts. Because I think he deserved it, but I think $42 million per. I've always thought that Max Fried was gonna get like 200, honestly, and probably deserve it because he hasn't really been. He's not been injury prone except last year. And for Charlie, I can't put anything past Charlie Morton, because Charlie has still proven to be amazing, and he still hit 96, 97 today on the gun, and Charlie continues to enjoy success. So no, I don't think there may be a little bit of a drop off for Charlie, and that's why you love the pitching depth, so you can keep the older guys healthy. But I don't see why Charlie couldn't continue his success. Wheeler at 42. I don't know how old Wheeler is, but it just feels like he's not going to be able to sustain. Justin Verlander has, don't get me wrong, so he may be able to do it, but you're handicapping yourself putting that much money in one guy, especially because Nola and Wheeler are a year older, and you put a lot of your resources into two guys that I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can count on continued success for especially Nola. Yeah, I mean, and it's good for them. I mean, they've put up I don't think Nola hasn't been as consistent as Wheeler, so that's a little to me. But and I just feel like the spreading of resources isn't there for teams like the Phillies. So I think it could backfire definitely. But yeah, I've always Max Fried's ultimate. No, I don't think Max Fried gets a contract. Yeah, 27 and a half. We usually go, what, 20, 21, 22 for a position player. So that's probably a good comp. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the writing's been on the wall for the last couple of years because of his connection with LA and the reality of everybody keeping. Yeah, LA is probably the likely destination, which really, really sucks. But I think it's just the reality. Although things could change for sure. Though I don't think so. But we've seen crazier things happen before. I try. I love what I do, and you guys make it. It's possible. I hope. I mean, that's always the goal. To keep growing and to continue doing what I do. So, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. But Sonny Gray left with an injury for the Cardinals, so that $25 million per year is looking a little iffy. Let's see what else. Justin Verlander is going to be on to begin the year. On the IL with his shoulder issue. I think yes. And you still got Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell. Obviously, I think the injuries, the starting pitching injuries are starting to pile up. So you may see Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell finally sign somewhere, but at this point, I have no idea. They'll probably get the same type of deal that Bellinger ended up accepting, and Chapman going to the Giants is interesting. They have a surplus of right-handed DH third base types with JD Martinez, or not JD Martinez, JD Davis and Wilmer Flores. So you could see some trading, some movement there, but it's basically, what was it, 3 years, 45, but an opt-out after every year, so 1 year, 18. Again, probably better for the team than player, because I think Matt Chapman was looking for 150-ish, so which is like kind of par for the course for the stars and the all-stars and all that. Ozuna has looked really good this spring so far and looked pretty solid at first base today. Not saying that we're going to see him at first base unless we locked up the division by about 17 games and we finally decide to give Matt Olson a day off. But he has looked really solid this spring, and the what he brings to the clubhouse is something that I don't think any of us kind of realized. But I'm really excited that he does, and I think we can attribute Michael Harris's turnaround to Marcell Ozuna saying, hey, dude, you're really good, so start acting like it kind of thing. And you kind of need those guys. Wall has had a really no Nacho's probably a year or two away. But he's had really good at bats this spring. But yeah, I mean, Ozuna. I'm glad to give second chances and all of that stuff. And he's been really great since all of his off the field issues. So that's I'm glad that's all behind him. Forrest Wall will not be the everyday left fielder, but if he keeps hitting like this, he'll definitely be on the team and make an impact for sure. But Nacho, I think, is a year or two away, and honestly, you could see him in a prominent role in a year or two away. But his strike zone awareness is insane. So, and he keeps showing it. For sure, but definitely a year or two away. We did make more roster cuts. They weren't any guys that were surprising. Grant Holmes, pitcher. Jake Walsh, pitcher. Phillip Evans, first baseman, which I wouldn't mind if he was able to stick around for our depth first baseman in the minor leagues. He's been really solid and played all over the place, so I hope we can keep him around in the minors. That's just a solid depth piece. Lurie Garcia, infielder. Alejo Lopez, infielder. Yeah, for sure. And I think he spent 7 years in the minors before getting his first shot. So this is not only a good story for the Braves, but a good story of persistence in total for Forrest Wall. But the Braves finally have a day off tomorrow. So they're all going golfing if the weather holds up. Nacho could be an MVP one day. No, I don't think so. JD Martinez has already turned $20 million down. And I think JD Martinez is almost Marcell Ozuna in left field, honestly. So no, I wouldn't think we'd do that at all. I really don't. And people are freaking out about Jared Kelenic, but he's really hitting the ball hard this spring, just not getting the results. AJ Smith-Shawver really liked what he did yesterday. 5 strikeouts, 2 2/3, no runs, and using that changeup more is a nice development, because I think that slider and curveball, he just can't get the consistency on that one. So if he can have an extra off-speed pitch that he is more consistent and he can rely on, because that's slider curveball, it's either a dirt ball pitch or hung right in the middle of the plate. So if he can develop the changeup more, which I think three of his strikeouts were on the changeup. And again, you've got really good pitchers with really good changeups in our pitching depth. So that could help out big time as well with AJ Minter, things like that. And Spencer Strider's developing his changeup too. You saw that a little bit more today. Right. But I just don't think JD Martinez fits. And I don't think we're going to option Jared Kelnick unless he has like a Marcell Ozuna first month or something. I just think JD Martinez is basically he's a great hitter, but I don't think he can play consistent left field right now anymore. Just my opinion. But again, it's a good thought, but I don't see the Braves doing that. They're gonna give Kelnick every chance in the world in left, honestly. And again, the way Forrest Wall has been playing, I feel like they would rather give Forrest Wall more of a chance than going to spend any more money, even though JD Martinez would be a good asset. But I think we're another signing away from going to the third tier luxury tax, which would bring Schuster is no longer with the team. He is with the Chicago White Sox. It would bring our draft pick down to we would lose 10 more selections in the draft too. So unless it was like a really, really impactful move and something we really needed to do, I don't see us doing it. Again, it's a creative thought, but I think JD Martinez is strictly DH at this point. And we already have Marcell Ozuna. No problem, Charles. Let's see. Make sure nobody did anything. Well, also, I think it's really cool that MLB The Show is allowing you to make women player. I think that's really cool. So that's awesome. Thank you. It's a tribute to my love of One Tree Hill. That's the One Tree Hill Bridge. And then the always is a always and forever. My best friend has the other hat. So we love One Tree Hill, and that's always and forever is a saying I like to use, and believe that dreams come true every day because they do is another one I use. And that came from One Tree Hill as well. So, and this one matches the outfit better. So, yeah, the bridge is cool. I did it too. I did that for my 25th birthday, we did the One Tree Hill tour, so that was really cool. But yeah, I think everybody saying that there's a lot of people saying that Ronaldo Lopez can't be a starter, and I don't. The Braves wouldn't give him a chance if they didn't think it was going to be a positive thing. And he's looked solid so far. I mean, yeah, some walks and some things, but yeah, I don't know what the Mets are necessarily doing. But Pete Alonso is a Scott Boras client, so, and you know how they've done this offseason with big money contracts, so it would probably be in the Mets' best interest to do that, but because he is their best player, but who knows? Oh, I did forget Josh Donaldson, bringer of rain, retired yesterday. And honestly, outside of his I don't think Jacob Stevens makes it. Or Jackson Stevens. I don't I don't I I I feel like I'm missing someone from the right side, but I feel like there's better options than Jackson Stevens, but that's excuse me, definitely a good guess. Especially the Ken Giles of it all. You maybe. Oh yeah. Okay. If Jackson Stevens is out of options, then that makes a little more sense. The new analyst's name is CJ Nikowski. And what I was saying before, Josh Donaldson retiring. Outside of his MVP stuff in Toronto and Oakland, his best year was with the Braves, and I guess that's when I started really appreciating what Alex Anthopoulos was about, because he 1-year deals and then didn't re-sign Josh Donaldson to a long-term deal, and it turned out to be golden for us, because then we were able to turn to Marcell Ozuna for the 1 year, and then it just kept getting better and better. But bringer of rain, Josh Donaldson was a huge pickup for us in 2019. Was super fun, and I hope he enjoys retirement. Now, Frenchie will still be around. He's just stepping back a little bit. I think he's still doing 10 games. 10 games or so for the team. So he's not going to be totally gone. And I think he's still doing his national gig. I still think you're probably right on Jackson Stevens, but I feel like there's better right-handed options. But if Ronaldo Lopez makes it as the fifth starter, then that probably opens it up a little more for Jackson Stevens, now that I think about it. So yeah. But you also, yeah. I mean, I thought Daysbel Hernandez would stick around a little longer, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see him throughout the season as well. So, that Yeah, he did. He's only had two. Fortunately, gave up 2 outings. Fortunately, gave up a run in one of them, but today was good. Today was solid. And Jackson Stevens is more used to going multiple innings if needed. So I think the more I think about it, the more that makes sense. That definitely makes more sense. Uh, if you're going by, I talked about David Fletcher a lot. If you're going by the stats and his playing of short the last 2 out of the last 3 games, I think David Fletcher, his contract might play into it. Well, Mike Trout's always been the leader for the Angels since he's been there, so I don't think that's a surprise. But probably David Fletcher or Luis Guillorme, but and Luis Guillorme has been dealing with quad issue, quad issue, but is supposed to resume playing this week, so we will see. And Luis Guillorme only signed a $1 million deal, so again, financials may come into it, but if you're basing on performance this spring, it's David Fletcher, but he's owed 2 years, 14 million, so it may be so that may be a contract casualty type of thing. Yeah. And like I said, my favorite stat, Mr. Contact. So, and he's proven he can play every position. So, and I think I would prefer David Fletcher because he's been in the bigger moments, had some really big hits and things of that nature. Not to say that Luis Guillorme hasn't, especially against us, but I mean, David Fletcher could have easily won a batting title a couple of years ago had he not gotten hurt. So, Phillip Evans, he was already optioned to the minor leagues today. But he could be a nice versatile piece. I hope we keep him around for minor league depth, but he might have had too good of a spring for us to be able to keep him around, but we'll see. But he's already been optioned. He actually got optioned after the game today. So Chris Evans definitely, or Phillip Evans. Sorry, you got the Phillip Evans has had a nice spring for. Frenchie is a broadcaster now. Who? I don't know who that is. Nah, he's a speed option, probably a depth. No. Guillorme doesn't have to make the team. Guillorme doesn't have to make the team, in my opinion. Fletcher's had the best spring out of all the backup middle infielders. Like I said, I agree with the Guillorme thing, but I think Fletcher may be forcing a decision. That's all I'm saying there. Fletcher's had an amazing spring and proven that he can play short, third, second, all those. And I know that Guillorme is probably going to make it, but I think Fletcher is making the decision more difficult. Yeah, Guillorme is the former Met. And I don't know that David Fletcher is going to continually accept being stashed, as you put it. So that's all I mean by that. But yeah, Arcia isn't bad. Just because they don't get hits every single day doesn't mean they're bad. I get what I know that's what you're saying, that we gave him a minor league deal, so he's gonna make the team unless there's an injury, or a major league deal for Guillorme. But I just feel like I think David Fletcher is making the Guillorme major league contracts, even though only $1 million. He's making that decision harder. And I know you're probably right, and Guillorme is going to make it because of the logistics of the contract situation. But I just feel like JP Martinez will not likely make it. He didn't really do too much for Texas. I mean, he had a good cup of coffee with them, but he wasn't one of their main guys. But he is a good depth piece in the minors. I get it. David Fletcher's contract is so weird to me. And that's why it's kind of annoying. But again, I just think his spring is making it more of a tangled web. Right, but I don't think I agree with that, but I don't think I don't know if David Fletcher will accept being in the minors. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, that was one of my bolder predictions, is that Spencer will throw a no-hitter this year. he definitely can, and he's been close-ish already. And yeah, I think he's gonna throw one in his career, if not this year. But yeah, but really good stuff from the guys, and we've the last no hitter we had was in 1993. So yeah, it's been a while. It has been a while. Um, I think that is all the news. I have. Dodd and Vines have already been optioned to the minor leagues, but I would guess that we're going to see them at some point this season for depth purposes. Again, talked a lot about depth. I'm not missing that. I'm just saying that David Fletcher, yes, probably will do exactly what you're saying, but I'm just saying that David Fletcher has made the logistical decision, even though it's probably going to happen, harder, and we'll probably see him at some point in Atlanta. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. Like, like all of the moves and the logistics and all that stuff, I get it. But I just feel like the way that Fletcher has played this spring, we'll probably see him in Atlanta at some point. Yeah, Ken Merker in '93. Yeah, I'm not. I got the whole Fletcher situation. I'm just giving him credit for a really good spring to keep in mind, and things may change and alter is all I meant. I think that's all the news. We have an off day tomorrow. If anything pops, I will obviously have it covered for you. Luplo is on the bubble. I don't think. I mean, he's a righty. He's had some good at bats lately, so. So yeah, that's definitely Luplo. Yes, Chipper was a pitcher in high school. Pitcher short. He basically did everything in high school, I think. So, but yeah. Chipper did win the MVP in '90. I think Chipper did win the MVP. What year? No, Yeah, 99. I couldn't think of it. Thank you, Charles. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Gary Sheffield, that doesn't surprise me at all. But that is all I got. I'll see you guys next Tuesday, and I'll have everything covered for you. So make sure you like and subscribe and doing all that. It helps out a lot. As always, go Braves, champions forever. See you guys next Tuesday, and we'll be one step closer to opening day.